Hello everybody, this is rtwriders.com. I'm Toby and this is suspension expert Lily from Romania. Since many people complain about the front and rear suspension of the Honda CRF300L, we decided to order some K-Tech piston valves from UK. In this video we're going to show you a detailed instruction how to install them in the front fork of a Honda CRF300L. So that might be quite interesting for some people, I think. The instruction will be very detailed, so if you should get bored, please feel free to use the timestamps below. Thank you. The piston kit comes in a very nice packaging. Here you can see the brand new compression valve. And the other one is the new rebound valve. But first of all, we have to open the left fork leg to take out the damping cartridge. We have beer, very important, the fork leg. And the first thing we're going to do, we're going to loosen the bottom screw just a little bit, because otherwise it might turn later on. So we loosen the bottom screw a little bit. Just a tiny bit, otherwise all the oil might already come out. We don't want that. So the next will be the top cap. And we use a 30mm nut. And we drain out all the oil. But I don't have something to put in the mold. Oh, the rod is moving a little easier already. It's a 6mm plenty, by the way. Here it is, our complete damping cartridge. Move it a little bit to get the oil out. So the fork leg is on the side and we start caring about the cartridge itself. This is where the bottom screw went in. And this is also the base of the compression piston. So we have to take this one out. First of all, usually you can use the finger. We push it in a little bit. Like that. So in here you see a little groove and a safety ring. And this one prevents the compression piston to drop completely out on the bottom. So we have to remove this little ring here. I have a little screwdriver, and last time the easiest was to put it one end to the inside instead of to the outside. So to the inside first, and then we can remove the whole thingy. Try that, like that. And I press it in with my finger. The other side. And here it is. Be careful that you don't damage the groove, because yeah, we will still need it later on. So we can put this little safety ring to the side. So next is we are taking out the compression piston. We use the rod for it and push it a little bit upwards. There's a seal here, and it will come into the little groove a little bit, so we might need a little force to push it over the groove. Well, not even that. So that's it. We put the rest of the cartridge to the side as well. And first we care about the compression piston. So this is the new compression piston, K-Tech, and this is the original one, the stock one. And we have to screw the new one on the compression base. If we look at it closely, we see that it's installed the wrong way around. So I don't know why it is like that. Usually the pistons should be ready to mount when they come from K-Tech, but unfortunately this one has to be the other way around to work, because these shims here have to be movable. The other ones are not movable. So same here. This is the movable shim with a spring on top. And yeah, it's installed the wrong way around. So first of all, we turn the whole compression part and put it back on the screw the other way around. I hope this all stays together, otherwise I have to drink lots of beer, because I have no idea how all these shims, how's the right order for all these shims. So open the little nut here and press it a little bit together. This little aluminium washer here has a thinner part on the bottom, and this has to go through this shim here into that aluminium part. So that's quite important. So the best is to remove it. Try to find the hole of the shim, press it a little bit down, hold it like that, and then try to hold everything together, take it out, put it in from the other side. That part on top, and safety nut that it stays together. So let's compare it again. New compression piston and the old one. So now we have the movable shims on the top side, and also this part. I don't know why it is like that, but yeah, it was wrong. It was not only wrong in this package, it was also on the other one. So we ordered two before. So take care and have a closer look before you install that. So next is we remove the old compression piston from the compression base. So now I put the compression base with a piece of cloth into the vise, and I keep a nut ready, because when I have the screw out and you want to keep all these shims and the whole compression part together, then I can save it with this little nut. Actually, we don't need it anymore, but if you want to keep it just in case, I want to have it in the right order. So we need a 5mm Allen key. We slowly turn it out. There's some Loctite on the screw, so you need a little bit of force. Before I remove it completely, at the bottom, the shims, they stay on the screw, so I take it off and put the spare nut on here. So now we're going to install the new compression piston. Like we did before, keep it together, make sure that the shim here is moving freely, because if we tighten the top screw and this is jammed between the screw and this little shim, then we're going to destroy it, and then that would be quite sad. So make sure it's in here, hold it together, remove the little nut. I cleaned it already before with some alcohol, and we put a little bit of red Loctite on the thread, not too much. We don't want to have it on the shims, that would be not very good. Like that. And then we put it on top of the compression base. Again, check the little aluminium washer here. Check it again. It's moving freely. And I'll use a torque wrench now. We're going to tighten that screw with 30 lbs. This value does come from the Racetech manual. I couldn't find another manual that told me the torque. Make sure you don't make it too tight, so don't use more than 30 lbs. The whole construction is quite fragile, so you don't want to destroy it. So here it is, our new compression piston. We check it one more time, that we can move a little shim up there. So it does work. So everything is fine, and we can completely clean it and put it to the side. So now we need our cartridge again, and we push the rod all the way through, and then we can see our rebound piston. So to remove the rebound piston, we have to remove this little nut up there. So I will put the rod in the vise again, and to make it a little bit easier, I will use these little pieces of plastic with a little groove in there, and also a cloth. So what we first do, we loose the top nut a little bit, and we hold the other side also, otherwise we will turn the whole rod. So as soon as you need a little bit more force, we stop. So what we can see now is that the tip of the rod, of that little thread here, it is deformed. It is deformed because this is not a stop nut, and it prevents the nut to become loose by itself. So we have to grind it a little bit. I started losing it that I can see how much I have to grind off. So now we put the nut all the way in again. We're going to grind this upper part. Don't grind it too much. Well, you can actually grind it all the way down to the nut, but the more thread you have left, the better it is, because there's not a lot of thread here. So in between, I always try a little bit. If it's already enough, and the little nut is able to maybe squeeze the thin rest of the thread by itself without grinding it all the way down to the nut. So let's try if it's removable already. Looks quite good. So here it is, and we didn't have to grind it all the way down, what is nice. We have a little bit more thread. Now we are putting a piece of paper on top of it again, and I will clean the tip of the screw a little bit. Make it carefully, otherwise the shims won't slide over it. So now we can try to remove the rebound piston. I'm going to fetch another screw where I can put the whole rebound piston on and save it with a nut again.
On this one.
And nut on top of it. Okay. And we can put the old one to the side. So then, after you made sure that the tip of the rebound base is clean, we try a nut and try out if it works. Well, it does. So we can put the new rebound piston valve on top of the rebound base. So this has to be like that. So you have to be careful and remove the screw completely and drop it like that on the rebound base. I hope I'm not going to make a mess with all the shims. Hold it together again a bit. Just in case, secured, and this is time for a beer, I guess. So the original nut is kind of destroyed, so we're going to use a new stop nut. It's the one that came from K-Tech. It looks like an aluminium one, and we're going to put some red Loctite on the thread as well, just to make sure that this is not becoming loose by itself. Don't take too much. We don't want to have it on the shims, of course. And also important again, make sure the little aluminium washer is going through the shim like it already was in the compression valve. So put it in there, press it down, and tighten the nut carefully. And again, we use a torque wrench with 30 lbs. To hold the bottom part. Take off some of the Loctite on top. That's it. Clear it again. And finally check if the shim can move freely. There it is. You can see the thread is not very long, especially because we had to grind a little part of it. But still it goes into the stop part of the stop nut. Just to make sure that it's never going to loose by itself, we also put some red Loctite on the thread, so this should be solid. So before we reassemble everything, we check one more time that our valves are mounted correctly. This is the position where the compression piston will sit. It will stay all the time in this part of the cartridge. This is the rebound piston. It is moving up and down in the cartridge housing. So when we push the rod down with the rebound piston, the oil has to flow this way through the valve. It can raise the little shim here. The opening becomes bigger and there should be no effect from the rebound cartridge. When it comes up again, the oil flow is that direction. So it presses the little shim against the valves and the oil flow is reduced, exactly what we want for the rebound valve. And on the other hand, the compression valve sits in here. When the rod and the piston, the rebound piston moves downwards, the oil flow is that direction. It presses the shim against the valve itself. So the oil flow is reduced and we have compression working correctly. When the piston moves upwards, oil flow is that direction. It can lift the little shim, the opening becomes bigger and the oil flow is there. So no effect from the compression when suspension is coming up again. So that's how it should be. So now we're ready to reinstall the cartridge. We pull the rod with a rebound valve into the cartridge. That. Make it gently because there's this little growth where the little seal has to go over it, so we don't want to destroy it. And then the compression piston goes in like that. Same thing, here's the little seal, and it will hold a little bit on the growth, so we need a little bit of force. my hands are oily anyway, so a little bit of oil on the seal makes it easier to go over the groove. Put it in here. That. And then we have to push it inwards again. Doesn't want. I use my hammer. Put this there. Yep. Okay. We have to reinstall safety ring. Make sure it sits correctly, and after that we can push the compression piston all the way down again. This is how it actually will sit in the cartridge, and the bottom screw will go in that thread. Put the cartridge into the fork leg again. This is the base fork leg screw that goes into the compression base. Clean it, make sure that you don't forget the copper washer. Sometimes it doesn't want to come out of the lower part of the fork leg, so I use the longer pole like that to push it out. So in here is a hole exactly as wide as the bottom part of the cartridge, and I want to target the cartridge into that hole to be able to put the bottom screw in there. Let's try if I can get it instantly. You see?
Mm-hmm.
Is it there? I can't see it.
I think so.
Yeah. And we put some Loctite on the bottom screw, red one as well. .6mm Allen key. Gently try to get the hole. Don't push it too hard, otherwise you will push the cartridge upwards again, and so it seems like we got it. Yep. And then I turn it around because Miriam has to push from that side. That helps a little bit that it's not turning inside. And we take a torque wrench again. There it is. And it's 20 Newton meters this time. I got it from the CRF300L service manual. The base of the compression piston looks exactly the same like on the CRF300L, so 20 Newton meters should be completely fine. So it doesn't turn. Now we're ready to put the new fork oil in there. We cannot use the Honda one, it is way too thick. K-Tech recommends something between 16 and 20 CST. K-Tech oil is 17.5 CST. I ordered some Motul export fork oil, not because I like Motul that much, but there was a cheap one and it has 18.9 CST, I think. So yeah, it's in between these values. And this is the amount of oil that came out of the original fork, around 700 milliliters. And I measured the oil level as well. It was around 58 millimeters from the top. So I couldn't find any manual that tells how much the new CRF300L needs. So I will just pour as much in as came out and hope it's going to work. Otherwise, if the progression is too much, I will take some oil out of the fork leg again. And if the fork punches all the way through and need more progression, we'll fill some more oil in there. I'll have to see. So we're going to use around 700 milliliters of Motul 5 expert fork oil. Take whatever you want that is between 16 and 20 CST at 40 degrees. It was 500 milliliters. We'll move the cartridge a little bit before I put in another 200. So now you can see the cartridge is filled with oil again, and it's hard to pull it out. It means the rebound valve does work. And it also does not go that easy inwards. It means the compression valve does work. So that is the last test that your valves are mounted correctly. Now we stretch the fork leg completely. It's very important. Don't put the top cap onto the fork leg before it's completely stretched. I take some fork oil, put it on the seal up here, and make sure the seal is all the way up to the top, because we don't want to squeeze it in here and maybe damage it. We'll then hold it down here so that it doesn't become shorter anymore, and then you can screw on the top cap. And we're finished with the left fork leg. So I hope you enjoyed the video a little bit at least.